Welcome to another edition of the Monday Morning Tennis Rant, where I talk about what happened in the tennis world in the previous week. And officially, the clay court season has started. We had some great tournaments in this past week. A great tournament in Charleston, which is one of my favorite tournaments to watch. And it appears that players absolutely love this tournament as well. Ons Jabeur beat Bencic this year. She lost to her in the previous year. And I have to say, with the amount of variety Jabeur has, I can see her being one of the favorites for the French Open. There was also a tournament in Bogota where Tatiana Maria defended her title. On the men's side, there was 3 tournaments, one in Houston where Tiafoe got a title, which is a super important title for him to win it on his home soil. Then we had a tournament in Marrakesh where Carballes Baena won a title. And then of course the tournament in Estoril that was won by the clay court beast, Casper Ruud, who now has 9 clay court titles and he's one of the best clay courters in the world. But the topic of this video is whether Murray, Wawrinka and Thiem can go back to their old form, meaning being in the top 5 in the world and competing for Grand Slam titles. In the tournament in Estoril, it was nice to see Dominic Thiem win 2 matches in a row, something that he hasn't been able to do in a long time. So obviously, these 3 guys are some of the greatest players in the history of tennis. They're going to be future Hall of Famers, but unfortunately, they had to deal with injuries, and obviously, they're not playing like they used to. They are able to produce some good results here and there, but they are now losing to players that they didn't lose to before, and they're also losing very early in the tournaments. So this brings up the question whether it's maybe better for Murray, Wawrinka and Thiem to just retire. And I can tell you that as a tennis fan, I love the fact that these guys are still out there. When I see a tournament, and Monte Carlo is going on right now, and all these 3 guys are playing in there, when I see the name Murray, Wawrinka and Thiem in a draw, I get excited because I love all these players. So personally, I love the fact that they're still out there competing. I even liked it back in the day when Bjorn Borg came back. As a fan, I love to see these players on the court. I was very sad when Federer retired, and I'm going to be super sad when Nadal retires. So I want to see these players play. But it is also frustrating to watch them play and lose early in the tournament. It's very much a head scratcher, and we as tennis fans, we're trying to figure out how come that these players can't produce the same results that they had in the past. See, the thing is, I can't tell you why they're not producing the same results as just a few years ago. In Dominic Thiem's case, he won the US Open in 2020. That's not that long ago. And in the case of Wawrinka and Murray, they were winning big titles just a few years back. I don't see a lot of differences in their game now. I don't think that the game has somehow surpassed them, apart from some maybe physical problems that they still might have because of their injuries. I think most of these issues have to deal with confidence. And the only people on this planet that know what these players are going through right now are the players that were in the same situation when they used to play. And I recently listened to a Ivan Ljubicic interview on the Functional Tennis podcast, where he was asked the question of why he stopped competing.
Playing tournaments your basically entire career, your life, where semifinal it's a great result, to then basically overnight semifinals becomes bad result, it's a big change. It's a big change. And that's something that, that was something that for me was not easy to get used to, but you just go with it. I had a dip a little bit in kind of motivation in 2007, 2008, where I felt like I reached my peak, and that, motivation, it's, when I say motivation was not there, not that I'm just saying that it was not as 110% as it was up until then, which is needed to kind of always keep improving. Now looking back, I should have maybe changed maybe way of practice, or maybe what we spoke about earlier, maybe add another person in the team just to kind of change your perspective a little bit, because it became a little bit slow at one point. It became like I would be doing always the same things. And 2005, 2006, I was winning tournaments, playing the finals almost every week. And then 2007, 2008, I kind of dropped to 15, 20 in the rankings, which was okay, of course, but I felt like I missed something. I felt like I missed an injection of new energy of some kind. Now looking back, maybe, adding another person, again, we go back to that, would have ignite that spark again. But it was a bit different, and then that's where I stopped also in 2000. I was thinking about stopping in 11, and then I stopped in 10 because I felt like the best is behind me, and I wanted, and when you realize that, it's very difficult to motivate yourself to push every day, because if you were once number 3, number 5, or number 7 in the world, and then you find yourself in number 30, which is fantastic, but knowing that you cannot go back to top 10. Then it's tough, then it becomes really just going week by week. You play quarters, you travel, and then it's not fun anymore. And that's where I decided it's better to stop now because I'm healthy, I'm fine, I have energy. I rather focus on doing something else than, just keep dragging this thing while actually not enjoying it.
Yeah, it seems to me like something that would really hurt inside when, you've held it before and you just can't grasp it anymore.
This is where tennis is tough because you still can beat the top guys, right? It's not about that. You do beat them occasionally here and there. This is where you hope, okay, now here we go, right? And then it doesn't happen actually, right? So that's what I got a lot of questions about Roger as well, like why is he still playing, but he's still playing because he's the best in the world or one of the best in the world, right? So it's not. As a tennis player, you don't go like from 5 to 15 in 6 months, right? If you drop, you drop gradually, and then every once in a while you kind of still do a good result, and you go back up. Yeah. So nobody can really tell you, you're not good enough anymore, right? As long as you can run, as long as you can play, if you have been top 10, you're always going to be 30, 35. I mean, look at Andy Murray, right? It's the same kind of thing. He can beat the best in the world. I truly believe that Andy with Rafa tomorrow, I don't know who's gonna win one match, right? But when you go, like you look at the season, Andy is losing matches against the guys that he was not losing before. It's not about beating that one guy once. And this is where then eventually it becomes, you realize, or you don't, or it doesn't matter. I mean, Andy just loves playing, which I appreciate and I respect immensely, right? For me, I didn't find fun being 35 in the world.
So the title of this video, can Wawrinka, Thiem and Murray go back to winning big titles? The answer is nobody knows, not even the players know. But I, as a tennis fan, I'm super happy that these players are still out there competing, which tells me one thing, that they still have the desire to compete and they still have the belief. Because if you take a look at players like Ljubicic, for example, who wasn't satisfied being ranked in the 30s, 40s, and 50s in the world, and knew deep inside that he couldn't be one of the best players in the world, and he retired because of that. Andy Roddick did it the same way, Boris Becker did it the same way, and many other players called it quits when they realized that they can't compete at the top anymore. So the fact that Murray, Wawrinka, and Thiem are still out there is a good sign, and I, as a tennis fan, hope that they can come back to the top of their game.